All right. Good morning and welcome to Talk It Out Tuesday. Starting a new series, Life and Faith. And I think it's always incredibly important for us to understand where life and faith intersect. Just to hear some real life stories of that. Sometimes the good, sometimes the rough, sometimes everything in between. So, on the show with me today is who I knew back in the day as Ari Morrison. She is now Ari Johnson, and welcome to the show this morning.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, inviting me on.
So Ari and I we've mostly been Facebook acquaintances over the years. It started, however, with this picture. This was back in 2014. Isabella and I had kind of a routine that every spring we'd go to a game. She was all about playing and watching softball back then. And this is Ari, her senior year, playing second base, which is what Isabella was playing at that time. And so she's like, Dad, I've got to get a pic. I want to get a pic. Do you think she will? Do you think she'll take a picture with me? And you were so kind and you were so gracious, as the whole team seemed to be that particular year. You guys were just so kind and gracious. Any little child that wanted to pick, yes, that's fine. Come on, honey, let's take a picture.
Well, I feel like softball doesn't get the recognition that larger sports do. So anytime people wanted to take a picture, we're like, yes, please come take a picture.
Please. Promote the brand. That's right.
Yes.
But thank you for being on the show. You live in Richmond. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You work at RTIC. You're a working mom and parent of two, and all the things.
Yes. So about 3 years ago, we moved from Carlsbad, California, to Richmond, Texas, and it's been an amazing move for our family. And I have two little ones. My daughter is 6. She's in first grade. And my son is 2. He's in daycare. Yes, I'm a working mom, and that has its challenges as well. I'm a user interface designer at a company called RTIC Outdoors. Here's an RTIC.
That's right. You make these things. You help promote these things. So what senior executive design? What do you do? Are you marketing? What are you doing?
So I'm on the creative side, and we work alongside the marketing team. And it's more commonly known as UI design, which stands for user interface design. And so I work on the website, designing new web tools as well. Things like we just added something on the website where you can bundle packages and purchase basically customized bundles for yourself and your family, and put together, say you want a backpack and you want a coffee mug and you want a cooler, you can bundle them and customize them, and that's a fun new tool. And then I feel like a trader. I just put together, we have a bottle builder tool. So if you go to our water bottle, you can put together a boot, bottle, and lid of your color choice. So mine is black, orange, and black.
Well, of course.
Yes.
And, there's no red in your life.
None, not at all.
Yeah.
But 2 of my cousins play softball at LSU this year. So I went online and built them purple, yellow, purple bottles.
That's right.
Yes. Brought them to them on Saturday. So yeah, fun tools like that.
You haven't been asked to give the elevator pitch in a while, have you? What
never
you do?
Yeah, I'm not on the customer or people-facing side. I come in the back door, I sit at my desk, I leave. As tech people, we just keep
That's right. Well, when we visited over the years periodically, and as you graduated, and what spurred this conversation for me, I saw the other day you posted a picture on Facebook of your recruiting, your first visit, your first recruit to Oklahoma State. So I just thought, hey, I think this would be a great opportunity just to talk about. I know you are a woman of faith. You have been a woman of faith for a long time. When did faith begin for you?
Um, well, I would say from a very young age, I remember my mom taking me to church. It's definitely, as it should, evolved a lot since
Sure,
then.
sure,
um, but growing up, I feel like I was very fortunate to grow up in Irvine, California, and we attended Saddleback Church. From the time it was pretty small, and
right,
obviously now it's massive.
yeah,
You go to church and watch Rick on a screen because he looks like a little toy soldier up there on the
right,
stages.
right,
So that was really my first introduction that I remember going to church. And so it was really important for me to continue that when I moved away to Stillwater and looking for a church. And after our very first practice freshman year, Sarah Odom and Sammy Joe Diffendaffer were dropping me off at Bennett Hall. And they said, "Hey, we go to Life Church. Do you want to
mhm,
come with us
yeah,
sometime?" And I was like, "Great, yes." Very excited. Had no idea. I hadn't heard of Life Church before
right.
in California. So we went, and I was like, "This is amazing. This is great."
This is almost like home, just a little smaller.
Exactly. Watching on a screen still. So that was it was it was great. And then tried several different churches.
Sure,
Tried to get more plugged into the
yeah,
community in Stillwater, um, and then when we moved here, that was probably the biggest thing for me. As soon as we moved, I told my husband because the church we went to in Carlsbad is called Daybreak Church, and it's amazing, beautiful church. And but it's also very large. watching the pastor here and then on the screen here,
yeah,
and then so as soon as we moved here, I was just praying, told my husband, "We need to find a church. We need to find a church." And then it's on Facebook one day. A girl, I didn't know her very well at the time. She played soccer at OSU, so we were Facebook acquaintances.
sure, sure,
Krista Lopez, and then she had been posting about her church and how much she loved it. And so I messaged her and I was like, "Hope you don't think I'm weird. I hope you remember me. I met you a couple times. Can you tell me about your church?" So I went to Hope City here with her, and it was great. But now I feel bad. I must admit, we are trying a new church on Sunday. Um, I don't know why. I feel like I want to get more involved in a church where if you skip a Sunday, people notice,
right, yeah,
and a church where I can be a bit more involved and serve a little bit more. Um, and there's absolutely a place for mega churches, absolutely. Um, but it's I feel like our family's at the point in our faith journey right now where we need to get more involved,
sure,
get in a group, and not be so far removed watching on a screen from the back of the
yeah,
auditorium.
right,
So we are
yeah.
trying a new one on Sunday that everybody in this town says is amazing. So yeah.
So you get to OSU. Let's back up just a little bit. You get to OSU. Did you an 11 then? Did you start in 11? The 10-11
Um,
season?
yes, the 10-11 season.
Yeah. I researched you a little bit. You played
Uh-huh.
outfield your freshman year.
Whew, it was rough. I
Yeah.
did. Yes. Well,
From
okay.
outfield to second base, how does that work?
Well, I played second base my whole life,
Yeah.
and then got to OSU, and we had an amazing second baseman, Alicia Hamilton,
Mhm.
and she's phenomenal. And so they were like, "Hey, we want your bat, but go out there."
Yeah. We want you to hit,
And
but we need you to catch out there.
yes, and I think they quickly realized what a disaster that was, putting an infielder in left field. After the first few times, I just ran into the wall and
It's
fell
like,
down because
I have no idea what I'm doing out here. There's like
what
grass.
is
I'm
it?
used to like dirt. I don't know what I'm doing out here.
Exactly. They're like, "You know what? Why don't you just go be the DH? Go sit down."
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You would be very beneficial for us at the DH position. Yeah.
exactly. And I loved being the DH.
All the
How to say that.
benefits without, all the work?
Well, we still had all the work, but in the game, it was like let
Yeah,
somebody who knows what they're doing go out there.
that's right. So, I know for me, when I was in college, you know, faith was something that had to be now personally developed. I wasn't around mom and dad anymore. I was on my own, made some good decisions, made some stupid decisions. I know that's for me. Tell us a little bit about being a student athlete, that takes a lot of time and a lot of energy on your part, as you know. And so, what was did faith develop a lot? And I'm not trying to box you in a corner. I'm just, did you struggle? Was there that normal struggle in college? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, 100%. Um, I would say that it was there. I knew it was there, but I closed that chapter for a minute,
Right.
and there was just so much going on. Looking back, um, I'm like, how were there actually still 24 hours in the day at that time? I'm not sure. Um, 'Cause with school and then practice and workouts and then the mandatory facilitation, they
Hmm.
called it, right? If you didn't get good grades, you had to go to your facilitator. Mandatory for freshman year, but for some of us, it was 4 years. Um,
Whoop.
um, but then, my fifth year, I did very well
There you go.
when I didn't have softball. Oh, sorry, my son just woke up. He's yelling at me. But so yeah, I would say at that time it was there, but it wasn't a part of my life. I wasn't developing it. I wasn't developing my relationship with Jesus. I was just like, I know you're over there.
But
And
I'm
I
really
went,
busy over here.
and I'm busy over here. Yes, living the life I want to live. And once I, now as an adult, realize it's not my life to live. He gave me this life. It's up to me to do what He wants me to do with it. Is I think I realized that about last year. So 4 years, 5 years out of school, it took for me to realize that this life isn't for me to squander. It's for me to do what He wants me to do with it.
Right.
So I think for sure, and I think that's a trap that a lot of people fall into in college is trying to figure out who they are, trying to figure out
Yes.
um, time management as well,
Right.
who
Right.
who their friends are, what box they fit into, and sometimes. Unless you're absolutely resolute before you show up at
Mhm.
the age of 18, which I think is not 90% of people,
Right. Right. Right.
it's very easy for you to stray away and be distracted by things of this world.
Absolutely. So you graduated in 14 or
Yes,
15? 14?
14. Yes.
14, yeah. And um, so you talk to us about that. You graduated, career woman, dating. How long have you and your husband been together now?
Zach and I were married in 2018.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that simple.
Right, right,
um,
yeah. Life rarely
so
is that simple. Exactly. Life is rarely this simple.
yes. And right out of school, I married my daughter's dad, um,
Mhm.
Thomas, and he's a great person. We are still very good friends, and we grew up together. He's from California as well.
Mhm.
And then realized that's not working for either of us.
Right,
So we both separated, and we're both now remarried to amazing, amazing people.
right.
And I think it's great that we had the friendship we had before our marriage because now we definitely parent as a unit. The four of us parent all four of our collective children together. And I'm not quite sure how parents do it when there's just two people.
Yeah,
Um, every kid is in a different activity, and
yeah,
and then every one of them responds differently to each of us as
that's
well.
right.
So if I'm having a problem with Reagan and I'm not getting through to her, I text Katie and I'm like, I'm gonna kill her. You need to fix it.
Right.
And Katie she is the most she is Reagan's stepmom, and I call her my co-mom. I hate the term stepmom.
Right.
I think of Cinderella, and in a negative connotation. But she is just like the most gentle, graceful, kind person. She is in the I'm not quite sure her role. I think she's the worship leader, but there's a lot of them
Hmm.
in her church, and it's just been amazing being able to be a parental unit
Hmm.
um, for all four of our kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so you talk to me a little bit about you said year and a half ago, you really kind of had this moment where you realized that my life is not my own. And I'm not supposed to live it for me. I'm supposed to live it by faith. That's Galatians 2:20.
Oh,
And
there we go.
so do what?
So there we go. Cited without knowing.
You did. You did. Uh what happened? Was there something that happened? Is this was it that's about the time your son would have been born? I mean, was there just something that snapped, clicked, something hit? I mean, was there a seminal moment, or talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah. Honestly, I think God had been trying to hit me over the head with this a few different times in our life. I think first with um, the divorce,
Yeah.
because at that time I was 22, still, like I had mentioned previously, was not very engaged faith wise.
Hmm.
And then at that time, I felt like, wow, I don't really have a choice at this point, right? Do I? And all my friends were gone. They were all still either in Stillwater or moved on with their lives, had gone back
Sure.
to their hometowns, and I was back in Carlsbad, sitting in the house, my parents' house. Like, well, what now? And so they took me to Daybreak, and still that didn't really click. And then I went to I met Zach, and shortly after we started dating, he was diagnosed with cancer and had to go through surgery, chemo,
Wow.
another surgery, and um, it still didn't really click. And then, I think God was back there like, well, what am I gonna do now? And then we moved here, and I was trying to get more engaged because I felt like that's the thing you're supposed to do
Okay.
as a Christian. You're supposed to go to church. So
Sure.
I went because I was supposed to. I filled out fill out notes
Right.
to show, look, I paid attention. I showed up. But didn't engage after that. My Bible had so much dust on it.
Sure.
It's a suede cover. It took a while to get the dust off. And then shortly after that, I would say actually it was September 16th, 2020, my daughter was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And because of the COVID rules, I couldn't go in the hospital.
Wow.
Um, so Reagan's dad, he's more assertive than 99% of humans. So I was like, you go, you go, and
You go do you, man. I'm just
yeah, you do you. I'll sit in the parking lot. And so it was like very strange seeing all the other parents, kind of parking lot
right.
tailgating in the hospital. And then it starts like pouring rain, and I'm sitting there just bawling. And it's midnight, and we don't know what's going on with her. And they're talking about life flighting her to the med center. And
Mhm.
I was just like, okay, God, I need you now. Um, I've been a fair weather Christian until this point.
Yeah.
Um, what do we do now? And I actually wrote this down in my prayer journal. I have many different of these. I've filled out so many. I should probably buy a thicker one, but save paper. And then I wrote down back then, neither this man nor his parents sinned, but this happened so the works of God might be displayed in him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because it's incurable, type 1 diabetes.
Sure.
So I'm like, why? Why my kid?
Mhm.
Why? And I'm sure as far as autoimmune diseases and lifelong diseases that children can have, it's pretty manageable. So I mean, it sounds strange to say, but in the end, we're kind of lucky that this happened to her in 2020 when we have the technology we
Right.
have today
Right.
to be able to manage it. But I think then I started getting a bit more involved and more plugged in and really trying to figure out, okay, God, what do you want from this? Where's your glory in this? Help me find that and stop wallowing in my own self-pity. Because there are so many people who have it worse off that aren't sitting here in a nice home and are able to just have the insurance take care of everything.
Right.
And there's so many situations we could have been in, and we weren't in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, okay, we have the support of 4 parents dealing with this, not one. And my gosh, the exceptions that they had to make for us so that all 4 of us could come in the room and learn from the diabetes educator. I thank Reagan's dad for his assertiveness in making sure that happened. But I think at that moment when now looking back, I'm like, that was it. That was all you could throw at me. But it's like, I think looking back at that moment is when everything started to change. And then Christmas Eve, my son had a seizure, and we found out he has hypoglycemia. So my daughter's blood sugar spikes with everything. My son's drops. So in changing our family's diet to low carb to try to manage her diabetes better, we were actually hurting him without knowing. So there's been a lot of moments that God tried to get my attention. And I think finally he did get all of our attention. And I think all 4 of us have never been pointed in the same direction as far as, okay, God, you put us all in this situation together. We all have the same faith foundation that our parents gave us. We're trying to pass it along to our kids. What do you want us to do for you here? How can we work for you? And it's pretty amazing being at that point now. So now it's like, okay, what do we do? So yeah, that's where we're at.
Absolutely. And it can be such a difficult journey sometimes. You shared with me that you have a great a great story about your daughter. Anything else that you want to talk to us about this morning? Just about how the meeting that you had and just faith and parenting and how is faith affecting your parenting and all those real life issues.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny. I feel like, growing up in the early 2000s, every kid had the WWJD bracelet on because it was the cool thing. And now I'm like, my gosh, I need that WWJD bracelet back more than ever before. And it's like, I'm sure, and it's interesting in my Bible study, we're all different ages and different walks of our life. There was a lady last night talking about how difficult it is parenting kids in their 20s. And I was like, I am personally
I'm a kid in the 20s. What is it?
I was like, excuse me? and my mom said, I called my mom after. I was like, parenting a 6-year-old, that's difficult. And collectively, we have an 11, 9, 6, and 2. And I'm like, we've got it hard. What is she talking about? Kids in their 20s, they're self-sufficient. And my mom was like, I have never had so many gray hairs, not because of my age, but because of you all in your 20s. I was like, really, Mom? And she said, just you wait.
Right.
So, but I always catch myself like, and my mom brought it to my attention, honestly. She's the Naomi to my Ruth, right? Always like,
okay,
bringing it to my attention. And she's like, sometimes you get a little snippy when you're talking to the kids. And I'm like, have you seen them? But I'm like, okay, I need to ask myself, what would Jesus say? What would Jesus do? I'm like, he he would have said that too. And I'm like, no, he wouldn't
Yeah.
have, you know.
Yeah, we have bracelets that we got at camp this year. It had WWJD on one side of it, and then it was HWLM on the other side, which means or HWLF, he would love first. And that's what would he do? Well, first he'd love, and then we'd figure things out.
Yes, and that's so powerful. And I feel like as a parent, I have never had to remind myself that more. And that when they do something, and you're doing yourself, they're kids. I'm sure I did this too.
Right.
Colored all over the recliner with a blue Sharpie. I'm sure I did that too.
Yes.
And
I'm gonna love you all the way to your room. Well,
yeah, we have a timeout chair, and why don't you go sit in the timeout chair for a minute?
Right.
And, but yeah, I think that's real life is telling myself afterward, oh, you should have been kinder. What would Jesus have said to her? Right. And reminding myself that, they don't know everything. They don't know what is and isn't okay. You and I know we don't do things like, punch our friends and draw with Sharpie on walls. And then I'm like, well, how did I get the Sharpie? Oh, I left it uncapped on my desk.
How did she get that exactly?
When she says things, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? And I realize who her parents are, and I'm like,
yeah.
Yes, this is what we created here. We made
there
this
is
monster.
Biology involved here.
Yes, exactly.
All those Punnett squares I filled out. This is actually coming into real life now. So
yes, 100%. So yes, I think being a parent is the biggest trial of them all.
Right.
And then it gives us a small glimpse into what I feel like God is thinking about all of us. Right? Like, what is wrong with you?
Exactly. Hey, let me I want to explore a little something with you this morning. I've been doing a lot of research. I'm in my doctoral program, and I've done a lot of research on generations and the different generations of people. I'm a Gen Xer. You're 29, so we're loving 29 right now. Because we had this conversation on Facebook the other day. For the audience, her husband turned 30 the other day, and she was like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Yeah, your time's coming." She's like, "Stop talking to me right now." But so many in your age group, what is called millennials, don't go to church. They're not affiliated with church. They're not even affiliated with God to a large degree. They may want to talk spiritually, but faith and God and Jesus are just not something that so many even want to discuss or deal with. So it's always fascinating to me when I can have a conversation and just ask, why do you go to church? I mean, why is faith important to you? Why do you go when so many, maybe even so many of your friends or coworkers are not ever interested? Well, I mean, what is it for you?
For me, and I might have touched on this earlier, that at first it was, what I grew up doing and what you were supposed to do.
Right.
And I think, and I don't mean to get into this topic, but I feel like in California, it was more difficult to find a faith-based group of friends.
Okay.
It's a lot more difficult to raise your children in the church. And obviously you can do it. There are amazing Christians in Southern California. I'm sure in Northern too, and in Southern California is what I know. But since we moved here, it seems like if you don't go to church, you're in the minority.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I think that was also very helpful. Because it seems like, in California, we had the teaching of Rick Warren. In Oklahoma, we had Craig Rochelle. And it's like, I should have felt that pull sooner, being led by such amazing men. And now I'm like, oh man, I kind of squandered that. I just went and filled out the little paper and went home. And now I just I feel like if I don't go to church, I feel like I missed something. Like I have church FOMO, and
Right.
and if I go a day without reading my Bible or reading my Bible study book, I feel like I skipped a major part of the day.
Right.
And so I think, well, I go to church to really deepen that bond, because I think he calls us, of course we're all part of the big C church, but he calls us to be a part of our community churches and our
Hmm.
little C church, and that's
Hmm.
such an important part of your journey as a Christian. And if you're far removed from that, and just listening to online or listening to the podcasts, then you're not really diving in to everything that he has for us.
Right.
So that's a long-winded answer, but that's my
No,
answer.
no, it's right. I mean, because it's about a relationship. It's not just checking the boxes. It's having a relationship and building that relationship. I love the fact that you're telling me that you're in a Bible study group with various ages. And so it's much more intergenerational. And so I think that's wonderful, because it just builds those bonds of relationship among several different generations. And that's a healthy thing to do. So,
It is, and I feel like I call them God crumbs instead of breadcrumbs.
right.
Um, I found this book. It's called Girls with Swords by Lisa Bevere, and I had read it, and I was like, "This is great! Like, I wish you could do a study here with this book." And that was about a week before I was telling Zach, "I really need to pray about this and try to put this study together." And um, Justinian de la Cruz, she's my best friend in the whole world. So she and I did a study together, just the two of us. But it's your best friends. We're not really holding ourselves accountable. Like, want to talk about the book tonight? Not really. Okay, bye. And then, but when you get in a group, you're held accountable. You have to do
Sure.
it, and that's amazing. So
Hmm.
the next week, I saw a post on our neighborhood Facebook page. This woman said, "I'm hosting a Bible study group, Girls with Swords by Lisa Bevere." And I was like, "What? What? Here in our neighborhood?"
That's right.
And what are the chances? And I was like, I have to go. So I did, and found this amazing, amazing, amazing group. And it's just crazy that in tiny Richmond, Texas, with, you know, it's it's not a town, right? There's aren't towns anymore. It's a city, but it's tiny. Um, it's all of us, all seven of us, go to a different church. So we all bring our own different little C church perspective to our study group. And like you touched on, we have such different life experiences, and we're all in such different places in our life. I think, well, I'm for sure the youngest in our group, but I would say the oldest is probably, I think she said last night she's 58. And so younger than my parents, but she's the one talking about the kids in their 20s. But it's just, I feel like that was such a God crumb of this is where you want to go, and just being open to that and listening to what he has for us. And right, you don't see bushes burning when you're walking by anymore, so
Right.
you really gotta be in tune uh, to what he's saying. And I feel like that's how he shows us our signs nowadays.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we've talked about a lot of different aspects of faith and life, and I so appreciate you taking the time to visit with me and to share some of that journey with us. Before we go, a new thing that I've kind of started with my interviews is just to kind of have a fun moment as we close, because I'm a foodie. Our family is foodies. We love to eat. We love to find. My wife and I have been doing this for 20 something years, and it's just we'd like to find new places to eat and blah blah blah. So they're in Richmond, Texas. What is your favorite place to eat? What do you order and why?
So I also consider myself a foodie. I know we're Facebook friends, but if you look at my Instagram, I only post food and recipes. Literally, the whole thing is food and recipes. And Um, my favorite restaurant we went to Sunday night for my dad's birthday. It's
Yes,
it's
Gary,
a
right?
little Gary, yes. It's a little kitschy. It's called Taste of Texas, and it's also like a kind of a Texas history museum. But they are the best steaks. I didn't think that there was a steak better than Freddie Paul's
I
or
know. We love it. We love Freddie Paul.
amazing. And they took me there on my recruiting trip, and I think that's why I picked OSU. With this steak and these mushrooms, I'm in. But and then of course, as a college student, you can't afford to go back ever again. But um, Taste of Texas here in it's actually in Houston is by far the best meal I have ever had. And I ordered the filet, center cut filet, 6 ounce. I order it medium, right? I don't want to hear it in the wing, but I don't want jerky. And then I get the garlic herb butter on it
All right.
and a side of béarnaise sauce.
Yes.
But everyone thinks that's for the steak. No, I put it on my mashed potatoes.
On your potato, exactly, yes, on the potato,
Yes.
yes. It's almost a gravy, you know?
Yes, exactly. The best gravy. So that's my go-to. And a Shirley Temple, because I don't know why it's a nostalgic thing growing up. My
Yeah.
dad always took us to Ruth's Chris for nice events. And I
Mhm.
always got a Shirley Temple because,
Right,
I wanted to
right.
feel fancy with his
That's right.
old-fashioned, my
That's
Shirley
right.
Temple. So now at 29 years old, they're like, "Ma'am, do you see the cocktail menu?" And I'm like, "I'll just take a Shirley
Yeah,
Temple."
that's right.
So that's
That is awesome.
if you ever come down here, Taste of Texas is where we'll go.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ari, thank you, for being with us today. I so appreciate this conversation.
Yes, and thank you so much for inviting me. I so appreciate it. This is great.
All right, well, everybody, you guys have a great Tuesday, and we will catch up with you on Dads with Coffee on Thursday, so we'll